What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Talk Reviews, episode 209, and on today's episode, we're talking about some college teams and college sports. Not a lot to talk about, but just enough to make enough of an episode. We're talking about basketball and hockey today, so let's get straight into it. So let's start off with basketball. Miami of Ohio finished their regular season 31-0. Pretty much should cement their spot in the March Madness tournament. But obviously everybody's going to be facing in their conference tournament. They're in the MAC, and they're actually not even favored to win the MAC tournament. That is belonging to Akron. So we'll see what happens. Who's going to win that? My money would still be on Miami of Ohio, despite the close finishes at the end. But 31-0, regardless of how good you are, especially against some of these bigger teams, I still think undefeated season, regular season, is deserving enough to be in March Madness tournament. So if we don't see Miami of Ohio in the tournament, it's a big shame there, despite them not having a great strength of schedule. I still think 31-0 still needs to be recognized for this March Madness tournament. High Point player Chase Johnson is a guy to watch for this tournament. High Point was one of those teams that had an automatic bid. They won their tournament. But Chase Johnson could become a sneaky good player for the March Madness tournament. He's 0 for 4 from the 2-point region for the whole season, but from 3 points all season long, 64 and 132. So this guy only shoots threes. If he's hot, who knows what can happen in a small tournament, beating up on a big team. I can see High Point being like a 13 seeded, 12 seeded kind of team. If that's the case, watch out for one of these big teams going down in that first round of the March Madness. Arizona State announced that they will be parting ways with Bobby Hurley after the Big 12 tournament. This is tough news for Arizona State. Bobby Hurley's been there for 11 years, but the last couple seasons hasn't been all that great for Hurley and the Sun Devils. It's really kind of a long time coming, in my opinion. I think ASU needs to move on and find something else, especially because, Hurley has got him to the tournament. A lot of the times it is that play-in tournament, and it really doesn't go their way in the end. So I don't think ASU is going to be missing him too much, despite just having the longevity of the same coach for the past 11 seasons. We also had some March Madness bids already taken up. We had 31 auto bids, 37 at-large bids, and some of the auto bids have already come out. Furman from SoCon, Troy from the Sun Belt, Queens from the ASUN, High Point from the Big South, Northern Iowa from Missouri Valley, Long Island from Northeast, Tennessee State from Ohio Valley, and North Dakota State from the Summit League. So all those teams have already clinched their spot in March Madness. A couple teams already being circled by some people as potential upsets, despite not even knowing who they're going to face yet. High Point, again, being one of the big ones with their player, Chase Johnson. But by the time you guys are listening to this, we will probably already have 4 more spots filled out from the CAA, the WCC, the Horizon, and the MAAC conferences. Those are going to be finishing up on Tuesday and Wednesday, so you guys will already know who's in there for that. All right, let's head to hockey. Conference tournaments have already started or will start this week on Wednesday. We'll start off with the Big Ten Conference Tournament. On Wednesday, we got number 7 Notre Dame versus number 2 Michigan, number 5 Ohio State versus number 4 Wisconsin, number 6 Minnesota versus number 3 Penn State, and number 1 Michigan State is the only team with a bye into the semifinals. So looking at the bracket, I don't think there's going to be too much of an upset here. Michigan should get it done. Wisconsin and Ohio State is a coin flip. I'm going to go Ohio State because of that, but it wouldn't be surprising if Wisconsin got that one done. And I'm going to get Penn State getting the job done. So I think 1 through 4 would not be surprising to see move on to the semifinals. Heading over to the Hockey East, again, also on Wednesday, it's number 11 Vermont versus number 6 Boston University, number 9 UMass Lowell versus number 8 Merrimack, number 10 New Hampshire versus number 7 Northeastern, number 5 Maine versus number 4 Boston College, Providence, UMass, and UConn 1, 2, 3 all have byes to the next round of the playoffs. We head to the ECHC. The first round results happened earlier last week. Clarkson beat RPI 2-1. Harvard beat St. Lawrence in overtime 4-3. Union smacks around Brown 9-0. And Colgate beats Yale 3-2. Now heading to the quarterfinals, which is the best of 3 starting on the 13th, which is Friday. Harvard versus Cornell. Colgate versus Dartmouth, Union versus Princeton, and Clarkson versus Quinnipiac. Now we head to the NCHC Conference Tournament. The quarterfinals, also a best of 3 hosted by the bigger seed. All these games were actually sweeps, so it only ended in 2 games for all these teams. Denver over Miami, Western Michigan over Colorado College, Minnesota Duluth over St. Cloud State, and North Dakota over Omaha. So the semis, which start on Saturday, will be Western Michigan versus Denver and Minnesota Duluth versus North Dakota. For the CCHA, we got the quarters, also best of 3s. Only one went to game 3. That was Minnesota State versus Ferris State. That one went Minnesota State's way. They won that series 2-1. The rest were sweeps. Michigan Tech over Bowling Green, St. Thomas over Lake Superior, and Augustana over Bemidji State. The semifinals will have Minnesota State versus Michigan Tech and Augustana versus St. Thomas. Heading over to the Atlantic Hockey, the last conference tournament. The first round did finish up. That was Mercyhurst beating Canisius 5-2 and Niagara beating Army 5-4. The quarterfinals will also already have happened, and that is the best of 3. Only one result did go to 3 games. That was Robert Morris versus Air Force. Robert Morris getting the job done, though, 2-1. But the rest were sweeps. Holy Cross over RTI, Sacred Heart over Niagara, and Bentley over Mercyhurst. So the semifinals now has Bentley versus Holy Cross and Robert Morris versus Sacred Heart. And for you guys that do not know, the 4 hosts for the tournament will be Albany, New York. That will be hosted by the ECHC, the conference as a whole. Loveland, Colorado, which will be hosted by Denver. Worcester, Massachusetts, which will be hosted by Holy Cross. And Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is oddly enough hosted by Omaha. Frozen 4 this year will be in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. So really exciting. This is really wrapping up really quick. And I'm very curious on who's going to get an upset here, because you got to expect 1 or 2 teams to get upset in these conference tournaments to get their team into the tournament and really honestly snub a team that deserves it out of it because they get an automatic bid. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we get maybe an upset or 2 here, but I'm hoping it's not too cookie cutter at the end of here. All right, guys, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. 209 episodes in the books. No games to watch this weekend since we have so many games to watch when it comes to conference tournaments, obviously in basketball and in hockey, which are not going to be solidified because of the fact that we do not know who won between now and Friday. So make sure you guys check your channels for college sports, because we got a lot to watch, even from the world of college baseball and college softball as well, which we didn't even talk about today because of just how much stuff we've had to talk about from this other thing. So a quick episode for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys have an awesome rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys later.